everybody. So I decided to go live on the YouTube. I decided to do this last year, and now it's already the middle of January and I still haven't got around to it. Anyway, this is really quick. I just wanted to say hello to all of my new diamonds who just joined me on here. I'm Jess May. I'm a celebrant. You can find me all over the internet as Jess May Celebrant. And on here, it just basically brings together everything that I do. So if you're looking for funerals, you'll find me on a funeral website. And if you're looking for me for weddings, you'll find me at Jess May Special Days. So we've got Crazy Diamond Celebrations, Jess May Special Days, and the Opening Ceremony podcast, which is just my passion project, which I love. And I've just been sending out newsletters to you all this morning because I just felt like it, and it was a Sunday morning and it was sunny and I had lots to say. So I've just sent out a newsletter, and to those of you who are new, I'm hoping that you've had a click on the button to have a look at my YouTube channel, just because it's just an opportunity for me to be very myself and very much about like the whole variety of work that I'm doing. I celebrate life. That's basically what I do. And one of the things I wanted to say was I've been reviewing all of my websites and all of my online presence, and just thinking to myself, to what extent that matches who I am as a person. So one of the difficult things about having a brand or having any kind of public presence is making sure that you're fully represented as yourself. And obviously it's just a static image, or it's a website and it's just you talking about what you do in quite an unnatural way. So I just wanted to take an opportunity, because I find that this is really my most favored way of connecting with my customers. Just to talk a little bit about my brand. So I'm colourful and I'm vibrant, and I've got my pink hair and all of that personality and vitality. But what I worry about sometimes is that people think if you have pink hair that you're somehow a bit out there or a bit wild or a bit, I don't know what. I just like having pink hair. But my favourite thing really is being at home with a cup of coffee and my cats and my partner. I don't really do Ibiza or anything like that, although I have loads and loads of customers who are big on Ibiza, big on parties, and they love working with me. My favourite thing about my work isn't being at the front. And I was having a chat with my best friend yesterday, and she's saying, Jess, what you're really good at is helping other people shine. And that is absolutely right. And I think it can sometimes look as though you're very front and centre. You're always sort of on the stage. If you're leading a ceremony, you're at the front. If you're writing a blog, all of it, it's very front and centre. So I think it's quite difficult when you're a celebrant to explain that what you're doing is celebrating other people. You're not really celebrating yourself. So I'd really hate it if people went to my websites and saw a picture of me grinning on the beach and looking really happy in front of the camera, which I really was, and I was having a great day. But if you were to look at that and think, oh, she's into herself and she's just really, a bit wild and a bit out there, that's not the case. I'm really a joyous person and I love my life. But what I really am interested in is you and your stories. I'm quite nosy. I love hearing about your life, where you've come from, who your families are, what your favourite things are. That's really what my life's about. And I just don't think it's possible to be fully yourself in those kinds of arenas. And people always say, oh, you just have to be yourself, be fully yourself. Being fully yourself on camera is really hard. And I've noticed lately that even the incredible Mel Robbins and the Glennon Doyles of this world, they in the end get to the point where they just come on camera with no makeup on, and they're just, what you see is what you get. So it's a matter of time before you see me in my pajamas. But I just wanted to give YouTube Lives a bit of a chance, because I know they're a thing, and I know they're an up-and-coming thing, and people like them, and I can then go put bits of this on TikTok. But you can find me on the TikTok, on the Instagram, on the LinkedIn, on the, what else? Google my business profile. All my reviews are on there. And then you can find me obviously at Crazy Diamonds Funerals or Crazy Diamond Celebrations, Crazy Diamonds Funeral Queen on Instagram, and Jess May Special Days if you're interested in weddings. I've recently had a lovely chat, as I said. We sat on the beach last night until the sun went down and it was freezing, but we were talking so much we didn't even notice. And my lovely friend Gita, she said, why don't you focus on doing micro weddings, because they're a real thing. There's lots of little venues in Brighton, but there's not very many big venues where you could have like 300 or 400 people. But there are loads of little venues where you could have a ceremony. You could get married legally at the town hall and then come and get married in one of these local little venues. So I'm going to be doing some blogs about local venues in Brighton and micro weddings, because they're really, really popular at the moment. And I kind of think, because we'd like to get married, there's a part of me that would want a micro wedding, which ties in with what I'm talking about, where I'm not really that keen on being in front of 400 people for myself. I'm happy doing it with other people, but yes. So there's all these really cute little venues. There's one called the Reading Room, which is in Kemp Town, right down on Madeira Drive, right on the seafront. Maybe you could probably get about 100 people in there if you wanted to, but they won't be licensed for weddings. So if you wanted to have like 25 people and just have a wedding with those people, but you didn't want to have a big ceremony, you can do things like that with me. So I'm looking into that, and I'm doing these living funerals. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is doing ceremonies for people with dementia, because I have done one of those recently. And it was amazing, because it's an opportunity, while your person is still with you mentally, to bring together everybody around them, make them feel supported and loved, make everybody else feel supported and loved, and then tell the stories while you're there about... There's always holidays, isn't it? People always talk about, oh, Mum, do you remember when we went to Whitby, or when I was in Birmingham, it was always Tenby? Or do you remember when we went to France? Or there's so many different things that people come up with. And when people meet at funerals, they always talk about the significant times, different times, and also the weird habits. Finally having a cup of coffee, spitting it everywhere. I spent this morning writing the newsletter, and in the end, Rinal came in and said, stop working. And I think I started brewing this coffee at about 9, and then I don't know, what time is it now? Yeah, 11:30. But Sunday morning might be my day for catching up with you. So what was I talking about? Yes, so when someone's got dementia and they're starting to decline in their memory, you are thinking, oh, I really want to keep hold of Mum's memories so I can tell my granddaughter, or I really want to remember those things and write them down so we've got them in the family. Or just the loveliest thing is just sharing them. So I can do these. They're not really like ceremonies, they're more celebrations with a ceremonial element. So it's not weird. It's not like you're sitting in the dark sacrificing chickens or anything. You are maybe in a residential home, or you're in your house, or you're in your garden, and you're just doing something quite low key, but you've got the albums out and you've got the videos out and you've got all the favorite snacks and drinks, and everybody has a bit of a glass of bubbly, and then you all get talking, and it's just amazing. And then I go away with it and write it all into a story. So that's something. The other thing I've been receiving a lot of interest in is doing celebrations for people who are turning 90, or just big occasions. So if you're having someone turning 90, obviously they're nearer the end of their life than the beginning of it, so they know they're probably not going to live beyond another 10 years. And it's a really good excuse to get people together. When you're 90 already, most of your people have died, because you've usually outlived people. So it's a really good opportunity to bring together all the people who are remaining and to love them and thank them and do all of those things. And then, please God, they live another 10 years. That's great. But you've done the thing without having to say, oh, Mum, can we have a living funeral for you? Which is obviously a really awkward conversation. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about how people can approach the topic of living funerals within their families and not feel just horrible about it, and not feel like they're causing something or bringing it. We're all a bit superstitious, aren't we, at heart? We don't want to make things happen, and we worry that if we say a thing out loud, it will become something. So yeah, 90-year birthday celebrations, dementia celebrations, and living funerals, and then these micro weddings. So I'm doing quite a lot of really, really niche stuff. And then my opening ceremony podcast coming up, the Dead Pet Girls, who are talking about how animals are memorialized now and how our relationship with animals in the contemporary culture. Like they talk all about the Kardashians and how animals are used in all kinds of contexts to make people like you, basically. For the Kardashians, they put them in, these vulnerable animals, and we've got this new dog, and then so they've done all these blogs and films and stuff and research around how animals are represented and then how they're memorialized in digital contexts. So they're really interesting, but they've just got brilliant stories about pet cemeteries all over the world and just stories about relationships with animals and what those kinds of connections have meant for people. That's a brilliant podcast coming up. We've got Dagmara Rudkin talking about her burial shrouds, which are incredible. We've got the Postal Service for the Dead and the Brighton Death Collective talking about their sending postcards to your dead, literally postcards for the dead. So you would, if you have something to say to someone who's died that you didn't get to say, somebody's removing things from their flat, so nosy. So if there were things that you didn't get to say that you really wanted to say, you can write them down and post them. And what you do is you post them to this post box in America. And this woman, Janelle, she will collect them and she'll archive them. There's like a system, a code where you can put a heart or a cross or nothing. And then she can decide from that code whether to read it, whether to publish it, or whether to just archive it unread. But it's brilliant and that's fascinating. I've got somebody coming, well, she's recording in January about Samhain, about Halloween for pagans, and then we're going to publish that obviously in October. I've got somebody coming on to talk about getting married to the River Avon, which I know, but it's really, really interesting because the use of ceremony has always traditionally been about community and culture and about belonging, but she's using it for environmental purposes. So she got married to the River Avon to highlight issues that are going on with our waterways and with the river and what's being lost. So that's really, really fascinating. I've got that coming up. And the other thing that I'm thinking about doing, and you can let me know whether you think this is something you'd want, is to interview loads of my previous couples, because obviously I've got a backlog of 11 years now of amazing ceremonies with incredible people, and I'm going to see if I can bribe them to come on and talk about their experiences on my podcast, about why they did what they did. It's going to go cold if I'm not careful. And how, and our connection, and why they worked with me, and just because some of the stories are brilliant. I might even persuade some people to come on and talk about the celebrations of life that they've had for people they've loved. So I'm trying to get a bit more personal and a bit more where I can just show you what I've done and what we do and why we do it and why I care so much, why I spend my Sunday mornings doing things like this and writing emails to people when I should not be working. I should be walking by the sea. So I am going to go and walk by the sea. I'm not going to come on here every 5 minutes and bore you to death, but I am going to be on YouTube a lot more because it's just a way of integrating all the different aspects of my work. So you can come to me and you can find out a little bit more about the wedding side of things or the funeral side of things. But I obviously, when I have my websites, I've tried to do both together, but I just can't market. I can't show the two things in quite the same light because one is really happy and one really isn't. And I know life is bittersweet and good and bad happen at the same time. It's not a dichotomous thing. But when you're getting married, quite often, you don't really want to think about death as the fact of it. I'm getting married, how exciting. Click, 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 funerals. And I just don't want to do that. So it's just really, really nice to say to you, there's a whole other side to my work. Come in, tap in, find out a little bit more about me and about my work. And also to get to know me as a human being and not just a picture on a website. So that's what this is about. Welcome. I'm really pleased that you could come and sign up to my newsletter, because then I can send you an email every Sunday morning. Maybe that's what will happen. We'll see. And I will see you again next week. Bye.